Some people in North Dakota want to raise the age for smoking. In other words, the purchase age, the minimum age at which you can buy tobacco, from 18 to 21. Bad idea. We'll talk about why in a moment here. Anything should be lower. Really? 18? Make it 16. Now make it 14. And we'll talk about why. 663-1270. And that's the number. Jim Walsh here on SuperTalk 1270. Streaming online any old time at SuperTalk1270.com. I'm not a smoker. Never have been. Never smoked cigarettes, occasional cigars, but I kind of quit those too when my wife quit smoking cigarettes. I'm not a smoker. I don't do cigarettes. I don't like to be around people who are smoking cigarettes. My wife smoked them. I got her to quit finally. With a little bit of help from, it took her a few times, but she finally did it. I'm very proud of her, and I'm very happy for her. That being said, there are, of course, a lot of people who are zero tolerance toward the whole cigarette thing. And we've got some people in North Dakota. Tobacco Free North Dakota is the organization. And it's one of these anti-smoke Nazi groups who basically just want everybody to stop smoking because they say so. Good luck with that. And yeah, smoking is bad for you. Duh. Right. But people are going to do it. But the Tobacco-Free North Dakota, they're making the rounds around all the cities and counties around the state, pushing reform of tobacco purchase. Basically, in North Dakota, you have to be at least 18 to legally buy a pack of cigarettes. If you're under 18, well, they'll card you, I guess. And if you're under 18, you will not be able to buy them. If you're caught selling cigarettes to someone under 18, you can be in a lot of trouble with the local authorities. Now, they went to Lincoln recently. A city commissioner there told one of the local news operations, NBC North Dakota News, that they listened to proposals from Bismarck Burley Public Health about increasing the purchase age. A number of states have done this. Hawaii, California, New Jersey, other states, a lot of states have either already lowered the age, or other states like Illinois, Virginia, Delaware, Vermont, Maryland, they are set to lower the age, or raise the age, I should say. They are set to raise the age in the next couple of years. Bad idea. And we'll talk about why here. If anything, the legal purchase age for smoking should be lower. It should be. Because really, don't we have better things to do with our time than go around dispersing our forces, sending police around who could be doing many more important things with their time? Instead of sending police or government, whatever, these professional snitches around to spy on people in our stores and our businesses to make sure that they're not selling cigarettes to teenagers. Well, God forbid that should happen. Here's the problem with the whole premise. Nobody actually starts smoking on their 18th birthday or their 21st birthday. Nobody. According to the Surgeon General, 90% of smokers begin smoking before they turn 18. A few after. But nobody in the history of the universe has ever said, well, tomorrow's my 18th birthday and I'm going to start smoking cigarettes. That is not how it works. So it's totally pointless to raise the age of smoking cigarettes. All it does is encourage the young people who want to smoke to find more underhanded means of doing so. You think the war on marijuana is a mess. You think that's a serious cluster, you know what. Wait till they start telling you have to be older to buy cigarettes. People of any age, they smoke cigarettes for, well, there are a lot of reasons. A lot of it basically has to do with dealing with the pressures and the stresses of daily life. That is why kids start smoking, especially in school. And the best way to deal with it, as far as the government is concerned, should be to kind of roll with it. And yes, you can tell them it's not a good idea to do so. And yes, you can provide information showing them why it's not a healthy choice for them. But, you know, when you turn 18 years old, you're considered an adult in this society. You've all heard the arguments. It's a new perimeter of life. You can go to war. You can vote. You can be held legally responsible for legal contracts like credit cards and student loans. You will be defined as an adult in a court of law. But despite all this, the government, people in the government and people who influence the government, they insist that you are not capable of handling tobacco or even decisions regarding vaping electronic cigarettes, which is, if anything, is even more ridiculous. You can go to war if you're 18, but you can't. You can join the Navy and lob nuclear missiles from a submarine and vaporize 100,000 people. But don't smoke a cigarette while you're doing it. And don't try going into a store and trying to buy them and maybe, worse yet, sell them to somebody else if you're underage. Because here's the thing, they will prosecute you. They will bust you for being underage, yet when it goes to court, you will be tried. Well, if you're 18 and they raise it to 21, then you're too young to buy them, but if they catch you, you will be tried as an adult. What the hell is that all about? So how is it a good idea to raise the legal consent age for smoking? Not because smoking is a good thing. It's not. But where do you draw the line with this stuff? If you're old enough to be considered a legal adult, you're old enough to be considered old enough and responsible enough to decide certain things for yourself, like whether you're going to smoke a cigarette. Come on, it's ridiculous. If anything, it should be lower for a lot of practical reasons, which we'll get into, but your comments are welcome. Number here, 663-1270. Jim Walsh at SuperTalk 1270 with more conversation and your calls coming up. Dr. John the Night Tripper. We lost him yesterday at the age of 77 to a heart attack. The good doctor did more than just about anybody in recent years to keep alive the music and the culture of the great city of New Orleans. He will be missed. Incredible piano player as well. Jim Walsh here at SuperTalk 1270, online supertalk1270.com. Should the consenting age to buy cigarettes be raised to 21? I say no, it should be lowered if anything. Kids are going to smoke in their teens. Most kids are going to start when they're 13 or 14. You might as well be open about it. Plus, doesn't the government have better things to do than go around chasing kids who want to smoke cigarettes, which are going to wind up getting somewhere anyway? You know, it's such a pointless endeavor. You think the war on drugs is pointless. Yeah. Try sending people out and stopping them from buying cigarettes before they're 21. You know, it's kind of like putting a queen-size sheet on a king-size bed. You tuck in one corner, the other corner opens up. It's exactly that kind of thing. We have better things to do with our resources as a state than waste our time chasing 14-year-old kids who want to smoke cigarettes. No, it's not a good thing for them. But there are other far better ways of encouraging them not to do it. When I was a kid, when I was in high school, by the way, the number is 663-1270. In case you think I'm full of beans, I welcome your comments. When I was a kid, a lot of high schools had smoking lounges. They embraced the issue. And usually it was some little area outside the building somewhere. And the kids, when they had off time, when they had study hall time or, in time between classes, they were allowed to go out there and smoke cigarettes. The understanding was that they would keep the area clean. They would sweep it up. There wouldn't be a lot of butts laying around. They kind of embraced the issue. They said, okay, you're going to smoke, fine. You smoke here in this designated area. And if you mess up, we're going to take away the privilege. So keep it clean, keep it appropriate, and keep it to this one specific area. The kids who didn't smoke, they didn't have to be anywhere near it. The kids who wanted to smoke, they did it. And you know what? That's fine. Not because it's healthy to smoke, not because it's a good idea, but if they're going to do it, you might as well at least channel it in a sociably acceptable direction rather than just adopting the zero tolerance policy, which is what we're getting back to today. And I'm old enough. I've seen it go the whole gamut. Initially, you had to be 21 to buy cigarettes, which, again, is ridiculous because who in the world starts smoking cigarettes on their 21st birthday? Ridiculous. Then they dropped it to 18 for a while, and they dropped it a little lower, and then they started raising it again. It's gotten so ridiculous, but it makes no difference whatsoever in influencing the kids who want to start smoking. You want to encourage your kids to not smoke? Well, you talk to them about it. Talk to them about the long-term hazards. Talk to them, be straight about it. You don't have to lie to them. You don't have to make up a line of BS like they do with marijuana and other things. And they do it with tobacco, too. They cook the books statistically to make it seem like it's a lot worse than it is. But you don't have to do that. Just tell them the truth. The real truth, not thetruth.org. I hate those public service announcements they run about how bad smoking and vaping are. They're stupid. They're ridiculous. I think they're deliberately ridiculous, but we'll get to that in a minute. But the question is, here in North Dakota, there are people who say that we should raise the purchase age for smoking cigarettes to 21. Because supposedly that will discourage young people from taking up smoking at a young age. If you put it out there, you realize immediately how ridiculous it sounds. This is another case of government busybodies and some private sector busybodies who are trying to justify their existence, which is defined by telling other people what they should do with their lives. You don't want kids to smoke. Well, boo, boo, hooray for you. You know what? You worry about your kids, I'll worry about mine, okay? We'll deal with it that way. I never smoked cigarettes. And you know why? Was it because the government wouldn't let me go in and buy this? Actually, the government would let me go. Actually, when I was 14 years old, I could legally go in a store in my home state and buy a pack of cigarettes if I wanted to. Nobody, more to the point, nobody really cared. But I didn't take it up. You know why? Because I had parents. My mom was a nurse. My dad was an ex-smoker. And they sat down and they talked to me. I talked to them about it, and they talked to me. And they said, we don't think you should, and here's why. And they explained it to me as an adult to an adult. And I listened to them, and I decided for myself that this was something I was not going to do. That's what kids, and the point is, kids are going to do that. They're going to decide for themselves one way or another. If they decide for the worse, well, if they're your kids, you can only do what you can. But you can't save the world. And nobody's going to give you all this credit. Well, some people will. Some people think it's a wonderful thing that you're out trying to save the world from themselves. I don't. You know, for all the talk about the virtues and values in America, whatever happened to the old-fashioned American virtue of minding your own GD business? Somebody else's kid wants to buy a pack of cigarettes. What issue is it of yours? That is the bottom line here. If you're 18 years old, well, You're legally an adult, but it's so ridiculous. You're 18 years old. You could be prosecuted as an adult, or this is how it would be. If you're 18, you'll be too young to buy cigarettes. If you get caught, they'll say, well, you're not an adult. You're not old enough to smoke. Yeah, we're going to prosecute you as an adult because you're 18 years old. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any damn sense. And this is coming from a person. I don't like to be around smokers. I don't like cigarette smoke. I don't even smoke cigars anymore. I might on a very, very rare occasion. I pretty much gave them up when my wife gave up cigarette smoking. I kind of did it to help her with her habit. But I was never a big cigar smoker. But the point is, you get to a certain age, you have to start letting people decide things for themselves. And if they decide to do things that you don't approve of, well, tough tuna, pal. I got news for you. The whole world is not going to do things your way just because you think it's right. So get off your high horse and leave people alone. You want to tell us about the dangers and risks involved in smoking? Fine, but don't insult our intelligence. Don't make up a lot of BS about it. The truth is bad enough. Tell us the plain truth. And let people decide for themselves, including teenagers. That's basically what I'm saying. Number here is 663-1270. Oh, thetruth.org, these really stupid, idiotic public service things they put on TV that are supposedly designed for kids to tell them how if they smoke cigarettes, their head will explode and it'll start World War III. I've got a theory about those. Tell me if you think this doesn't make sense. The people who bankroll those stupid ads are the tobacco companies. They're kind of forced to by the government. The government came in a few years ago when they had that class action thing with R.J. Reynolds and all the other companies. And part of the deal was they said, you people have to create these public service ads called thetruth.org in which you will tell young people, kids, about the dangers of smoking. Well, I'm sure the tobacco companies were not too crazy about having to do that with their money. So what did they do? Here's what I think they decided. They decided, well, if we have to do this, if they're going to make us do this, then there's one thing we can do. We can make these ads as ridiculously heavy-handed and stupid as we possibly can. And the kids will see right through it for the BS it is. And they will, if anything, they'll have the opposite effect. They'll encourage kids to smoke as an act of rebellion. That's my theory on thetruth.org, why those ads are just so ridiculous. I think it makes a lot of sense. But really, if you're the kind of person who feels that kind of pointless lecturing is a way to get across to kids, then you're probably the kind of person who thinks it's a good idea to raise the smoking age to 21. It's not. It's a very bad idea. Although you'll never hear, of course, you'll never hear a real argument about it from the tobacco-free North Dakota and thetruth.org and the other smoking Nazis. You'll never hear a real argument from them. Your comments welcome. Please call in number 663-1270. Love to hear from you. Jim Walsh here at SuperTalk 1270 with more conversation, more of your calls coming up. Oh, the latest shot fired in the war against guys. Summer is now considered sexist. Yeah, that's right. Because all those poor defenseless women, they all have to sweat their bikini bodies and the hair removal and other things. The added pressure of bodily exposure, kids out of school. And the crime thing, that's a bad thing. But the rest of it is kind of stupid. Now, do you think ladies, do you think you get a raw deal with summertime? 663-1270. Jim Walsh here at SuperTalk 1270, supertalk1270.com. Yay. All right, from USA Today. Does anybody actually still read that publication anymore? Seriously, does anybody read USA Today? Well, apparently they're still publishing, and I've got the article. Summer, the best season, especially for women. Time to panic because your beach body didn't shape up as scheduled. Time to shave every day, even though it gives you adult diaper rash. Time to text a friend so she knows your jogging route. Time to act as the primarily juggler of your kids' camp schedules because your husband can't, won't, or tried last year and failed. Summer, longer days, warmer nights, barbecues, ice cream, and sexism. So much sexism. All the evil men. They're evil. Yeah, really. Somebody actually wrote an article about this, and it got published in a national newspaper. Yeah, tell me what a great shape the newspapers are in. All year long, society sends women messages about how they should look and act, but summer can dial up the volume on gender differences. Oh, really now? The idea that a woman's worth lies in her... Okay, let me point something out here. Ladies, nobody is forcing you to do these things. If you want to shave your legs, if you want to fix your hair, if you want to look nice, nobody's going to make you do it. You don't have to do it. Yes, I mean, men like it when women do those things, but nobody's going to physically force you. Come on. Really? But no, apparently, according to the article, these are perennial issues that are always at play. Says Abigail somebody. Yeah, what is it with the feminists with the unpronounceable names? I don't know. A cultural sociologist of gender and a professor at UCLA. She says, I think there are things about summer that make people experience these sexist issues more strongly. Because, of course, ladies, you have no choice in the matter. You're all slaves to the patriarchy. Standards of beauty may evolve, but in American culture, there's always been a preference. Often white, young, thin, and able-bodied. Well, that's not true, though. It's not. A lot of men like women of color. A lot of men, regardless of their color, like women of color. A lot of men don't mind women. I, for one, don't like women. I'm not a chubby chaser, but I don't like women who are too skinny. That doesn't look good. A lot of women think they have to starve themselves to go anorexic or bulimic in order to be attractive to men. That's an unfortunate misconception. It simply is not true. For whatever reason, it is not a fact that men, well, some men may be attracted by it, but I'm not. Never have been. And they talk about the unrealistic standards of beauty, and yeah. But again, not everybody is like that, and certainly we don't live in, we're not living in the Handmaid's Tale society where they're going to physically force you to be that way. But apparently, no, the pressure to conform is even more acute in the summer, when warmer weather leads to more exposure. Cueing the multi-billion-dollar beauty industry. I don't know. I don't hear a lot of women really complaining about this. Most women will tell you, most of the women I talk about this will tell you they don't really do it for the men, they say. Well, maybe. We do it for each other. Well, if that's the case, if you're doing it to look good to other women, then what's the problem? Where's the problem? If you're not even doing it for the sake of the men who you claim are oppressing you, where does that make any sense? Dawn Delgado, National Director of Operations at the Center for Discovery, which treats patients with eating disorder, says her clinic, and now wait a minute. Eating disorders are one thing. These kind of legitimate health issues don't fall into the same category as people who feel it necessary to dress up or pretty themselves up a little bit so they can look halfway decent at the beach. There is a definite line between the two. Definite line between the two. And to start talking in terms about eating disorders and legitimate health issues and tying them in with vanity or simply the desire to put your best foot forward, preferably with a nice pedicure, that is just not fair. That is not right. It's just ridiculous. But you tell me if you think I'm full of it. Number here. Yeah, because I'm a man, because I don't understand. I just don't get it, apparently. Number here is 663-1270. All right, look. Full disclosure here, I am a diehard supporter of rights for women. On the issue of reproductive rights, and I don't want to get into a big long thing about it on the air, I'll just say this, I am as pro-choice as they come. I support the right of women to be safe from criminal activity, from criminal predators. Just like with children, women and children, they should, if extra efforts have to be made to protect certain groups in our society who are more likely to be the victims. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm all for it. I'm all for women having the rights to, the glass ceiling. I don't like it. I think equal pay for equal work is a good idea. I think women should run for president if they want to. Some of them I would even vote for. Some of them. Who? Let's not get into that right now. Some of them I would vote for. But again, the point is, you can't just lump all this together. You can't just say that a woman who decides that she wants to go to the beach and lay in the sun and, I think I'll shave my legs in case somebody comes by. I want to look good, I want to look right. Well, that may or may not be a thing you need to do. But the point is, you have the choice of doing it, and it's not the same as somebody who is, binging and purging every day because, they're so screwed up in the head. They think that's what they have to do to look attractive to the rest of the world. There is a whole different kettle of fish involved there. Whole different thing. And that's what really bugs me about this, is the way they just kind of draw all this together. This article starts talking about the alleged sexism of summertime and the demands on women, and right in the middle of it, with it just like thing turns on a dime. It's amazing how they do that with these articles, and all of a sudden we're talking about eating disorders. Well, why didn't you talk about that from the get-go? It's a legitimate issue to talk about. But don't try to tell me that it's part and parcel of just women getting themselves to look attractive for the summertime. A woman, any woman who wants to dye her hair or wants to put on a little makeup before she goes out to go shopping or, to meet with somebody at the Barnes & Noble, that somehow that's the same thing as a woman binging and purging and starving herself down to Karen Carpenter proportions just because their parents screwed them up so much they think they have to do that to be an attractive member of society. How do you get from the one to the other? The answer is you don't. It's ridiculous. But the world is full of ridiculous people who buy into ridiculous things. Oh, by the way, somebody was asking about the suntan lotion thing. Best thing I ever used for sunburn. I know Heitkamp was talking about this with his people. And I just wanted to mention this. If you get a nasty case of sunburn, try vitamin E cream. I first discovered this when I was living in the South, when, it was really super sunny and hot, Florida-type weather in the summer. You know what I'm talking about. And I got a real nasty case of sunburn one time, laying on the beach. I forgot to put on the block or whatever. And somebody told me, I actually put it out on the air. Somebody told me about vitamin E creams. I went to the drugstore. It's apparently widely available, and it works. Works very well. Within a day, the sunburn was a lot better. So I pass that along for what it's worth. But no, ladies, you don't have to binge and purge in order to look attractive. Certainly not to me. I would never tell my wife that or any of her friends that they have to do that. Now, be yourself and find somebody who will accept you for what you are. And stop playing the victim card, because it doesn't work that way. And it cheapens. It's an insult to the people in our society who actually are victimized by things like crime and sexual discrimination, which are real things in our society. But, if you try to make it that it's all one big pot of fish here, one big bouillabaisse, then you're just making it harder for the people who are the real victims. So stop doing that. Don't do that. Number here is 663-1270. Jim Walsh for SuperTalk 1270. SuperTalk1270.com. More conversation. Your calls coming up. Yeah, it's the time of the season for Noxzema or vitamin E cream, whichever you prefer. God, I love the Zombies. I love that band. Always have. SuperTalk 1270 and Jim Walsh. Let's talk about the Straight Pride Parade. Yeah, we need one of those in Bismarck. Yeah, all the straight guys are going to line up and march down the strip. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that happening. Now, this is happening in Boston, up there, with the Kennedys there, where they walk with vigor. Therefore, with economic growth and Boston, city of Boston, anyway, they're going to have this Straight Pride Parade to promote heterosexual values, I suppose. And basically, it's a couple of guys who came up with this thing, and they're trying to get all the permits and everything. And the mayor, his name is Walsh, by the way. Alrighty, probably a distant cousin of mine. The mayor of Boston, he says, well, we can't deny them a permit based on his values, but, we'll see how it plays out. Anyway, they're trying to get this thing lined up for later in the summer, and I'm sure other mental midgets across the country are getting the same idea. Yeah, we should have a straight pride parade. We're here. We're straight. And we can procreate. Yay! Yeah, let's all sing the Straight Pride song, okay? You know the Straight Pride song. It goes something like this.
Throw out your hands.
Stick out your tush. Hands on your hips. In Boston.
You'll be surprised you're doing the French mistake. Voila!
It's some Boston clam chowder.
Come on, try it, move those feet along.
50 million Bostonians.
50 million Frenchmen can't be wrong.
Listen.
Throw out your hands. Stick out your tush.
Yeah.
Hands on your hips. Give 'em a push.
You'll be surprised you're doing the straight mistake. Yes.
Voila!
Anyway, so they're trying to get this thing together in Boston. It's so hilarious because it's like three guys. Yeah, that's going to be a pretty pathetic parade. Three guys. Somebody was asking me, would you take part in the Straight Pride Parade? Jim, you're straight, right? Oh, yeah, I am straight. I prefer women. I am married to a woman, which is something, in this day and age, you got to point that out. It's not so obvious anymore. But yeah, I'm a straight guy. I like women. I like the things I like to do. I like to do them with women, I'm happily married, faithfully married. But, one of the things I like about being straight is the fact that I don't have to worry about a bunch of goons sneaking up on me and beating the crap out of me one night because of my sexual preferences. I don't have to worry about a bunch of Republican evangelical buttheads trying to deny me my rights to do anything based on some stupid, outmoded Bronze Age biblical values. I don't have to worry about my family, certain members of my family, not a lot of them, but they are there, who would basically ostracize me and consider me a non-person simply because of my preferences as to the kind of people I sleep with. Because I'm straight. I like women. I don't have to worry about all those things. Yet, you know what? The other folks, it is an issue for them. There was an article here, got it somewhere, out of London. And it's hard to come by, it's hard to have a day, well, it's hard to have a week go by without one or two of these articles about people getting, here it is right here in front of me, lesbian couple brutally beaten by a group of men on a bus in London. An apparent lesbian couple who were assaulted by 4 men on a double-decker bus last week. One of the victims described the experience. The group of men demanded she kiss her girlfriend for their entertainment. She said to bug her off, and then they whooped up on her. And there's a picture of them here. It's not pretty. They started behaving, real Clockwork Orange stuff, of course. Well, see, here's the thing. Because I'm straight, my wife is straight, we generally don't have to worry about that kind of thing. At least not in our day-to-day living. Well, the day that those things become an issue for me, the day that I have to worry about politicians falling all over themselves to take my rights away to make some kind of religious statement, the day I have to worry about people just indiscriminately jumping on me on the street and attacking me just because they think I'm a straight guy, the day that starts happening, then yeah, maybe I'll take part in your straight pride parade. Otherwise, bugger off. Thank you. Let's see. Article here about turtles. Well, what a segue here from gay pride and straight pride to talking about turtles. PETA, an organization I'm not a fan of, but once in a while they do publish some legitimate information. They talk about how to help the turtle population. And this is certainly an issue around here because you drive out in the country, you get out of the city, and you see them big old turtles trying to cross the road near a body of water. And I sincerely hope that you're one of those people who will actually take the time and, if you see a turtle in the middle of the road, you'll get out and actually move them to the end of the road where apparently they're going anyway, so they don't get hit by a car. And I certainly hope you're not the kind of person who would swerve to hit the turtle. If you are, you should be castrated with a rusty fish hook, and a turtle should bugger you while you bleed to death. Other than that, I don't have a strong opinion on this subject. I mean, come on. We're talking about being nice to animals. Is that politically correct? I don't know. To me, it's common decency. Anyway. Winding down here. What's going on this weekend? Well, we're not having a straight pride parade in Bismarck, Mandan, to my knowledge, and I wouldn't care if they did. There is something, the Special Olympics is going on in Fargo. And that's a very good thing, a very positive thing. How far is far, how high is high, we'll never know until we try. And if I fall short, at least I have the courage to make the effort. I love that sentiment. And I love the fact that the Special Olympics is going on this weekend in the great city of Fargo. Might be worth a drive, even if you don't have some differently abled people in your Now, as it happens, I have a brother with cerebral palsy. He's not going to be participating, but, I can relate to the situation. But even if you don't, if you're looking for a place to drive this weekend, you want to get inspired, maybe cry a little, I would encourage it. Go see the Special Olympics this weekend in the town of Fargo. I wanted to follow up on the smoking thing with a funny story. Talking earlier in the hour about the fact that there are people in North Dakota who want to raise the smoking age. I made the case that if anything, they should lower the smoking age because it's unenforceable anyway. So you might as well, if kids are going to smoke, and no, they shouldn't smoke, but if they are, you might as well just let them and leave them alone and let them work it out for themselves. But the market, of course, always comes up with some kind of idea for people who are inconvenienced by these things. And there's some company here that has developed a vaping cigarette that looks like a USB drive. No kidding. They really did. And they put ads about it. Here's the issue. They put ads about it on Pinterest and some of the other social media things. And now the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Speaking of which, by the way, it's not a state, it's a commonwealth. I just want you to be sure about that. They have filed a lawsuit against a vaping manufacturer for the post like the one that shows its product, this vaping thing, what do you call it, a vaping device, vaping cigarette. It looks like a USB drive, and it's got the caption, "But Mom, it's a USB drive." You know, the idea is they sell this to kids, and the kids think, well, you know, I can vape, and my parents, if they find this, they'll think it's a drive, and be no sweat. Well, maybe. But it does raise some interesting issues, doesn't it now? Among them, the fact that social media marketing in this country is still the wild, wild west as far as the regulations are concerned and marketing stuff to your kids. And, you know, what the company posted is, in fact, what anybody would expect the kids to do. They buy one of these things and they say, yeah, they fool their parents. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's one of those computer flash drive things. You know, they must have some, maybe they got some porn on the internet. Well, that's okay. At least they're not vaping, right? Yeah. Now, is that a problem? Should they ban these things? I think they should ban them. Again, it goes back. You got to talk to your kids about these issues openly and say, look, you know, I mean, realistically, I'm not going to stop you from smoking. You shouldn't smoke, but if you are, at least I want you to know the real honest to God. Getting in trouble again. The real honest to God. We used to say that when we were kids, remember? It was no big deal. But the real honest to God facts about smoking and vaping, you know, you don't have to lie to the kids and insult their intelligence. The truth should be compelling enough. And let the kids come to their own decision, which ultimately they're going to have to do anyway, okay? Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shakaroon, chakaroon. You smoke enough of that stuff, you know, sound like this guy. Have a good weekend. There's some fairs going on around. Get the full details about what's happening at SuperTalk1270.com. You have a very, very good weekend. Stay safe. I'm Jim Walsh. Thanks for listening.